Hot off of yesterday discussing the Alberta separatist movement, we now have a former Conservative MP from the riding of Edmonton Riverbend crossing the floor to join the Liberal government. And this is the third time this has happened in less than a year. So we're going to look into, who Matt Jeneroux is. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, Matt Jeneroux, and why this matters, what this means for the Conservative Party as well. Like I said, it's the third time that it's happened in less than a year. And so, let me know in the chat what you guys think of all of these floor crossings that have happened in the last little while. And as always, or not always, but what I am going to do is start with looking at a few posts on X because they are always entertaining in my opinion. And so I just searched Matt Jeneroux, and to latest. I literally just refreshed it before I went. This is from 2 minutes ago. Matt Jeneroux lied to voters, joins Liberals, gets instant promotion. Conservative MP Matt Jeneroux explicitly told Canadians in November he was not crossing the floor. He was resigning for family reasons. 3 months later, he's praising Mark Carney's globalist Davos speech and flipping to the Liberals with an immediate promotion to Special Economic Advisor on Economic and Security Partnerships. Just like Michael Ma before him, lie to voters, get rewarded. This is the third Conservative defection in 3 months. Liberals are now one seat from majority if they hold the upcoming by-elections. How is this not a scandal? Politicians can't. There are actually 3 upcoming by-elections, so if the Liberals take them all, they will be at 172, which is the majority. How is this not a scandal? Politicians can lie, switch sides, and cash in. No by-election, no consequences. This guy looks pretty animated, so let's give him a watch here. Oh, I paused it. Let's get volume going here.
Yesterday, another Conservative crossed over to the Liberal Party. Matt Jeneroux is the third one in just over 3 months. And just like Michael Ma, he got a promotion right away. He went from an unknown backbencher to the new Special Advisor on Economic and Security Partnerships. But just in case you forgot, back in November, around the time when Chris d'Entremont, the first Conservative to cross over to the Liberal Party, there were rumors that Jeneroux was also considering crossing over, yet he said he wasn't leaving the Conservative Party to join the Liberals. He was actually going to resign for family reasons. 3 months later, he's praising Mark Carney for his globalist speech he gave in Davos. But the truth is that Matt Jeneroux lied to Canadians.
So basically everything that I just read in the post here, this is from Nico Lagan, 4,300 followers. Guessing he's from Quebec with the French accent and the old Quebec Nordiques ball cap. Sheila D, 86 followers. I would say Matt Jeneroux is keeping his integrity and leaving the toxic turmoil behind. Pierre Poilievre and some others in the party definitely lack integrity. So there's the definition of white liberal woman, liberal white woman. Apex 4,400 replying to Mark Nixon. I'm not sure what Mark Nixon's post was. Jeneroux has made a point of donating his annual mandated pay increases to local charities in Edmonton rather than accepting the raise himself, supporting groups that help those in need in his community. Okay, so this must be the post that he's replying to. What charity did Matt Jeneroux donate his salary? He promised to donate his MP salary to charity since his resignation and has earned $58K since then. He hasn't shown any evidence that he's donated a single penny. I don't know about that. Maybe he has, maybe he hasn't. A reply to Wealth Moose from Just Eat Real Food, 461 followers. I was a door knocker for Aaron Gunn. My mother-in-law and daughter worked in your campaign office. What Matt Jeneroux did was a betrayal of trust of the people that voted for him, of the people that volunteered their time to help him get elected, and of the Conservative Party itself. a betrayal of principles. He lied when he ran. I think that's probably the general consensus from the Conservative Party, is that he lied, especially just 3 months ago, saying he's going to step back and resign, and now 3 months later he's decided that he's just going to cross the floor. Alberta Conservatives fume as Edmonton MP Matt Jeneroux jumped ships for the Liberals, from Irene Walker, and that looks like a link to a Substack article. Grok replying to Optimus Keenan and Mark Carney. Edmonton Riverbend Matt Jeneroux's riding was created in 2015 and has always elected Conservative MPs, including in 2015, 19, 21, and 25. Its predecessor, Edmonton Leduc, from 2004 to 15, was also always Conservative. No Liberal has won either. So yeah, I can definitely see how the people of that riding are visibly upset, because they've never elected a Liberal member of Parliament, and now they have one, even though they did not vote for a Liberal member of Parliament. Definitely let me know in the chat what you guys think of the whole idea of floor crossers. It has happened in the past, obviously. And I do have some prepared script that I'll read a little bit of it. I'll try to keep it less like I'm just reading to you, and try to keep it more conversation like. But like I said, hopefully people will join in the chat, and we can have a lively discussion about about what is it, the politicians, why did they cross the floor in the first place, what motivates them to do so, and what do you think? Is it a betrayal of trust? This is not what the voters voted for in your riding, right? And even though it's generally rare in the past, it's now happened 3 times in less than a year, from the Conservatives to the Liberals. So is that a sign of a fracture in the Conservative Party? And what does that say about Pierre Poilievre? And again, going back to less than a month ago, Poilievre held his leadership role easily at the Conservative convention. And honestly, I don't really know how. And I like Poilievre. I think Canada probably would have been better off if we had have elected him, in my opinion. But that's, again, just my opinion. So please feel free to jump up in the chat and let me know your thoughts. I am going to stop sharing. There's a lot of, obviously, on X, there's just tons and tons of posts. Matt is a traitor and a fraud. Riding of Edmonton Riverbend, including predecessor areas, not voted Liberal since 1960, 66 years ago. The Edmonton Riverbend riding, as it's known today, has always voted Conservative, yet somehow the constituents that always voted in a Conservative now have a Liberal MP. There is nothing democratic about floor crossing. This needs fixing. No MP should be allowed to simply cross the floor and retain MP status, no matter in which direction they cross. If they want to cross, they should be required to resign their seat and resign from the party they represented. A by-election should be called, and if they win that seat under their newly chosen party, only then should they once more become the MP for that riding. I tend to agree with that. I tend to agree with that, exactly. That does seem much more democratic to me, allowing the people of the riding to vote again. And if they want to vote for Matt Jeneroux as a Liberal, they can. And if they want to vote in a new Conservative person, then they can do that too. This is what makes sense to me. So en français, Daniel Drouin. Defection chez les conservateurs quand la chaise du chef du parti. Basically just saying the same thing in French that we're reading in English. Here's an accurate fact-checked version of the post. So again, this is, I don't know what they're fact-checking. Yeah. Your founder is a scumbag, Matt the Rat Jeneroux. Another one in French. I'm not going to read out the French. A little more context on the Matt Jeneroux floor crossing. So another YouTube video here. What to know about today's floor crossing. CTV News chief political correspondent Vasi Kapelos breaks down what you need to know. Verified. So this is 59 minutes ago. Conservative MP Matt Jeneroux crossed the floor to join the Liberal Party on February 18th. So yes, obviously this was yesterday that this happened. In November, Matt Jeneroux also posted a memo saying that he would resign come spring, in his own words, on his own posts. The Liberal cancer spreads. Matt the Rat got a nice raise to defect. Julie, 163 followers. Shout out to Julie. A lot of replies from Grok, a lot of fact checking going on here. Matt Jeneroux is a liar, failing to fulfill his commitments, moved to BC, no longer representing Alberta, time for a by-election for Riverbend. Oh, is he not even living in the riding anymore? Gave up his job in Alberta when he moved to BC, time for a by-election in Riverbend. Okay, so yeah, that's interesting if he's not even living in the riding anymore. And I know Poilievre doesn't live in the riding where he won the by-election either, where he was able to win back a seat in Parliament, but obviously that's part of the way it works, I guess, right? Yeah, so let me know your thoughts in the chat. I would love to know what people are thinking about the topic of floor crossings, especially with this latest former Conservative MP crossing the floor to the Liberals. Like I said, I am going to stop sharing the X posts now. There's obviously literally just tons and tons and tons of them. So some of the pre-prepared script I have, like I said, I'm going to try not to just read it word for word, but some of it is going to obviously come off as reading. So I'm going to just jump into it here. A Conservative MP from Alberta just made one of the rarest moves in Canadian politics, crossing the floor in Parliament. So it used to be somewhat rare. It's obviously less rare these days in this past year. His name is Matt Jeneroux. He's not a cabinet minister, not a fringe backbencher, but a long-serving Alberta MP who's built his career inside the Conservative Party. Tonight, we're breaking down who he is, why this matters, and whether this defection is just personal or a warning sign for Canadian politics heading into a volatile moment. So who is Matt Jeneroux? Conservative MP from, as I keep saying, former Conservative MP from Alberta who's represented his riding since 2015. Came into Parliament during the Harper years, stayed through leadership changes, and built a reputation as a reliable mainstream Conservative, not a protest figure, not an outsider. That's what makes this defection notable. This isn't a brand new MP or someone with nothing to lose. It's a veteran Alberta Conservative choosing to cross the floor and join the Liberals under Mark Carney. In Canadian politics, floor crossing is usually rare. Yeah, obviously, like I've said several times now, it's become a lot less rare, and just here in the last year or so, well, less than a year since last April. In Canadian politics, because it carries real political risk. When it happens, it usually signals deeper tensions either inside a party or between an MP and the direction their party is taking. So yeah, that's my big question, and I'd love to know what you guys think too. Is this signaling deeper tensions within the Conservative Party? And I think it might be. I think that's that kind of. I don't know. Obviously, we are outsiders looking in. We don't really know the ins and outs workings of the inner part. The inner party, the inner monologue, what's going on there. This move is less about ideology and more about alignment. Okay, so I've got some myths versus realities that I drew up as well today when I was doing research on today's topic. This is a one-off and basically never happens anymore. Myth. Reality. While floor crossing is still unusual, this is now the third defection since last spring's election. That suggests more personal circumstance. It points to ongoing instability and realignment, particularly in a closely divided parliament. Myth number 2, it's always about personal ambition. Reality. Sometimes it is, but more often it reflects internal party conflict, disagreement with leadership direction, or a calculation about long-term political viability. And so again, pointing back to the possibility of internal party conflict within the Conservative Party and a disagreement with the leadership's direction of that party. Now, the third point there, the calculation about long-term political viability, well, he's already been an MP in that riding for over 10 years, so he's already had long-term success, right? That means he's been elected and reelected 3-4 times. So I think that, again, it points back to the possibility of internal party conflict. Let me know what you guys think. I would love to know your thoughts. Myth number 3, voters don't care. Reality, voters care a lot. Yeah, we just saw that on X. Voters care a lot. There's a lot of backlash. Yeah, that was actually my next note here. Floor crossers often face backlash in the ridings, which is why this is a high risk move. Voters care. The voters in that riding elected a Conservative, and now they have a Liberal. And I don't know. That's all there is to say about that, I guess. Myth number 4, it doesn't affect Parliament. Reality, one defection can shift the confidence, strengthen or weaken a minority government, change committee balances, and alter political momentum. In a minority parliament, one seat can matter more than it looks. So when a long-serving Alberta Conservative crosses the floor, the real question isn't just why he left, it's what this says about where Canadian politics is heading. And I think more importantly, not just where Canadian politics is heading, where the Conservative Party is heading. So now we're going to look at, obviously, I've already touched on it there briefly, about the path to a majority government, the path to the possibility of a liberal path to majority, why Edmonton Riverbend matters. So in a minority parliament, every seat changes the math, but where a seat comes from matters just as much as the number. Edmonton Riverbend is an urban Alberta riding, demographically mixed, professionals, public sector workers, newcomers, younger voters, less reflexively conservative than rural Alberta seats. By flipping this riding without an election, the Liberals gain more than one vote. They gain credibility in urban Alberta. They reinforce the idea that Liberal support isn't confined to central Ontario or central Canada. They reduce the number of seats needed to reach a majority. A Liberal win in Edmonton Riverbend weakens the idea that Alberta is politically monolithic. If the Liberals believe they can hold or contest seats like Riverbend, their confidence going into a general election increases. But can they? I think that's the question. Can they hold that? We just saw the posts saying that riding has been Conservative since 1960, 66 years later, and they haven't voted Liberal in 66 years. So can they hold that riding in either a by-election or the next federal election? And I think a lot of people in that riding, too, are probably going to be quite peeved that he crossed the floor, and that might bring out more voters. It might turn people to vote Conservative to basically to spite him. Who knows? But I think it might be a hard test for the Conservatives to win that riding, like I said, in either a by-election or the next federal election. Point number 2, Conservative internal unity. Why this direction stings more than others. Yeah. Matt Jeneroux wasn't an ideological outlier or a protest MP. He represented a competitive urban Alberta riding. He survived multiple election cycles. He was part of the Conservative mainstream. That's why this defection raises uncomfortable questions inside the party. Are urban Conservative MPs feeling politically stranded? Is the party's national messaging costing it ground in cities? And honestly, I think it might be. And I think you're right. The Conservatives can't seem to win the seats that they need in Toronto. They can't win the seats in Ottawa and Montreal. And as we all know, that's how you win an election in Canada, is by winning the big cities, especially those 3. So are some MPs worried their ridings are becoming unwinnable under the current brand? Yeah, and was that part of Jeneroux's thinking? I don't know. When MPs from swing ridings lose confidence, it's a warning sign, not just a rebellion. But is Edmonton Riverbend a swing riding? I don't think so. Apparently, the last election, the Liberals gained a lot of ground. It was a lot closer, but at the end of the day, it's still been a Conservative riding for 66 years, since 1960. So, for Conservative leadership, Edmonton Riverbend is the kind of seat they cannot afford to lose if they want to form government. Well, yeah, exactly. They need all of those urban ridings as much as possible, not just out west where they're usually safe, but like I said, they also need to obviously pick up seats in Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, and wherever else they can. Point number 3, what this signals to other MPs, especially in similar ridings. This move sends a very specific message to other MPs, especially those in urban or suburban ridings, politically mixed electorates, seats that flip between parties. The signal is this: floor crossing is risky, but staying put in a losing riding may be riskier. The Liberals are positioning themselves as viable even in Alberta cities. There may be space for political survival outside traditional party lines. For MPs watching from similar ridings, Edmonton Riverbend becomes a test case. Does the Liberal brand hold up locally? Do voters punish or reward the move? That's my big question. And I think what we'll see happening in this particular riding is voters will punish the move. That's my prediction. And I mean, we're not going to probably see it anytime soon because they're not going to call a by-election. Although, as we saw that one post on X saying that's how it should be done, and I agree with that post on X, that's probably how it should be done, but that isn't the way it's done. So come the next general election, I believe voters will likely punish the move. Does this shift local political organizing and donor behavior? Maybe a little bit. If this works in Edmonton Riverbend, other MPs will notice. I'm sure they will. This isn't just about one MP changing parties. It's about whether urban Alberta is quietly changing its political path. Political path may be the better way of. Does this make it easier or harder for Conservatives to win urban Alberta? Edmonton Riverbend is not a hard right locked-in Conservative seat, and it never really has been. Well, it has been for 66 years. So some of what I found earlier today obviously is not 110% accurate, or I guess differing sources have differing opinions. I'm actually going to skip over a little bit of that because, like I said, it's some of the research I was doing was calling it a swing riding, whereas can you call it a swing riding if it hasn't voted Liberal in 66 years? Like, I don't think you can. Even if the last election the Liberals had a better showing and were a lot closer of winning. Okay. Much love, my friend. Decentral Mamas. Hey, Decentral Mamas. Haven't seen you in so long. Yes, much love to you as well. What are your thoughts on the floor crossings that have happened in the last less than a year since the last election? 3 floor crossings now. 3 floor crossings, which seems, well, it is extremely high. I can't ever remember there being 3 floor crossings in less than a year ever before. So yeah, I do have other things to look at, as opposed to just this. Some of these things that I was, like I said, is Edmonton Riverbend becoming more like urban Canada, or is this still an exception inside Alberta? If a floor crossing can survive anywhere in Alberta, it's in a riding like Edmonton Riverbend. Edmonton Riverbend doesn't vote for parties; it votes for what feels workable at the time. Even though it does seem like it's voted for parties in the last several years, it's all a show. Democracy is a joke. Yeah, it seems that democracy has taken a hit on the head these last few years. Not just in Canada, but it seems globally. A lot of countries are facing the same and similar challenges as Canada, which we could probably maybe get into in another live stream. So yeah, I had, oh yeah, Grok, because like I said, I had sort of conflicting when I was doing some research earlier today on the topic. I had some sort of um, conflicting, conflicting. What's the word I'm looking for? Conflicting. So this gives a little bit of the history of the Edmonton Riverbend riding and the current member of Parliament, Matt Jeneroux. There was something in here though that I was wanted to sort of, was it at the, this is just the bottom, floor crossing, changing parties without resigning and running in a by-election is allowed under Canadian parliamentary rules, though it's often controversial and can draw accusations of opportunism. No by-election is currently planned for the riding as a result. Oh yes, this is what I wanted to point out, how it has been a conservative stronghold since its creation, with strong support for right-leaning parties in Alberta's federal landscape, which is sort of a direct contradiction to some of the other things that I was researching today, saying that Edmonton Riverbend is a swing riding, which I don't think you can call it a swing riding at all. That's my opinion, I guess. Again, that's going back to 66 years of voting for Conservatives. How can you call that a swing riding? So yeah, please keep the chat going. Love having you here, Decentral Mama. If you're still around, I'd love to know more of your thoughts on Alberta. Yesterday we covered Alberta separatism. We're trying to live stream every day at around 4:30, between 4:30 and 5 o'clock Eastern time. So I do have a couple other things to just sort of go through quickly, which are, where do I think I have too many tabs open that it's not finding the tab I want to share, which sometimes happens with Restream when you have so many tabs open. Let me try again. It might let me try it this, might let me do it this time. Yeah, there's the one I'm looking for. Okay, so this is a CBC article, and I know some of you have varying opinions of CBC. Leaves Conservatives to join Liberal, citing national unity crisis. Floor crosser has betrayed the people of Edmonton Riverbend. So another Conservative MP has crossed the floor to join the Liberal Party, nudging Prime Minister Mark Carney closer to the line of a coveted majority. Alberta MP Matt Jeneroux, who said last year that he planned to leave politics altogether, name circulated as potential defector, announced Wednesday he is joining the government after all. He is the third Conservative Liberal the Liberals have picked up, starting with Nova Scotia MP Krista Etremont in November and Toronto area MP Michael Ma in December. Edmonton Riverbend, conversations with his family over the holidays when it reflected on the gravity of the moment that our country is living through and the need to serve even when the path is not easy. Sitting side by side, Carney, during a brief, cited the Prime Minister's speech at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland in January as a reason for making the jump. I think it opened a lot of eyes for Canadians, Albertans, Edmontonians, just how serious this national unity crisis truly is. For me, it felt disingenuous and quite simply wrong to be sitting on the sidelines anymore, so I reached out to the Prime Minister's office and will be joining his caucus. Jeneroux sent an email to Conservative leader Poilievre, the party's whip, caucus chair, and Speaker of the House about his decision around 10:15. Eastern Time, according to a source with knowledge of the events. Carney announced the news on X 1 minute later. Wasting no time, Carney announced the news on X 1 minute later. In that statement, Carney said Jeneroux will take on a role as special advisor on economic and security partnerships. The Prime Minister's office said it is an unpaid role, which again, if you've been around with any of my previous live streams, you know my opinion on when politicians say it's an unpaid role. You know they're getting something somewhere. Nobody works for free. Building a stronger, more resilient, and more independent country will require ambition, collaboration, and occasionally sacrifice, the Prime Minister wrote. Well, it seems like it's all the population, that make all the sacrifices, right? Conservatives react. Conservatives had harsh words for their former colleague. Poilievre said Jeneroux has betrayed the people of Edmonton Riverbend who voted for affordable food and homes, safe streets, and a strong resource sector. Mark Carney is trying to seize a costly Liberal majority government that Canadians voted against in the last election through dirty backroom deals, he wrote in a social media post. British Columbia MP Frank Caputo said he was lied to. Jeneroux will live with his decisions, character, and broken relationships, the Kamloops Thompson Nicola MP wrote. What do we have beyond our integrity? I'll sleep fine, staying true to my principles while I continue to fight for my people. Ontario MP Andrew Lawton noted on X that one commonality in the statements by Detremont, and Jeneroux is the absence of the word liberal. Yeah, I thought that was quite interesting when I read this earlier today as well. None of them actually said liberal. They all talk about joining the government. They are seeking power, not making principled decisions rooted in their beliefs or the will of their constituents, he wrote. The defection marks another blow to Poilievre, who, despite securing an over 87% approval rating at his party's convention last month, polls poorly with the wider Canadian public. And then it goes on, Jeneroux suggested he would step aside. So lots to think about there as well with, it's crazy. It is absolutely crazy, in my opinion. Okay, Decentral Mama, I wish I could stay, but got a toddler throwing a tantrum. I'll have to catch the replay. Yeah, appreciate that. Leave a comment in the replies or in the comments on the video after it's posted as well. Sure, that'd be great. glad to see you out, and like I said, I haven't seen you around the internet for quite some time, but great to have you stop by for a little bit. Appreciate you being here. And oh yes, I had one more article to look at from CTV News, and it's going to be the same thing. It's going to take me a second to pull it up because of just the way this works. So we've kind of already covered this with Poilievre, but the betrayal, basically. Poilievre says Jeneroux betrayed his constituents. So again, shut that down before it starts squawking. Shut that down before it starts squawking. Pop-ups are horrible. In a move, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is calling a betrayal. Conservative MP Matt Jeneroux is joining the Liberal caucus. Matt, welcome to the government team. Prime Minister Wednesday sitting down with Jeneroux for a press conference in Edmonton. The two questions from journalists. It's a great honor to be on the same team as you at a crucial time for this city, for this province, and for this country, Carney also said. Carney announced.
So what do you crave?
That's what I'm trying to avoid, that pop-up. Carney announced the floor crossing in a social media post on Wednesday morning. So yeah, this is obviously we just covered a lot of this in the CBC article, very similar. And again, I just want to point out, Jeneroux is the third Conservative MP to cross the floor in as many months, joining Krista Tremont in November and Michael Maw in December. After Detremont joined the Liberals just hours after they tabled the federal budget, there was speculation Jeneroux was planning to follow suit. Instead, Jeneroux announced he would be stepping down entirely as MP, though as of February, he has yet to officially do so. Yeah, more of the same, basically. Right, this was what I wanted to get into from this article. Liberals still 3 seats shy of a majority. So while 3 Conservative MPs have now joined the Liberal benches, the latter are no closer to a majority government than they were immediately after the April election. Former Trudeau-era Cabinet Minister Bill Blair resigned his seat in the House of Commons after he was appointed as Canada's High Commissioner to the United Kingdom. Former Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland also announced her resignation to take on an economic advisor position for the Ukrainian government. And the Supreme Court last week invalidated the federal election result in the Quebec riding of Terrebonne, where Liberal MP Tatiana Auguste had won it by a single vote. That riding will be heading for a by-election. So it's my understanding all 3 of these ridings, and the 2, Bill Blair and Chrystia Freeland, are in relatively safe Liberal ridings in Toronto, and then this will likely go to I'm assuming probably go to the Bloc in Quebec. But if the Liberals were to win all 3 of these ridings, then they would have that majority government. Canadians evenly split on floor crossers. Canadians are virtually evenly split, meanwhile, on how they believe MPs hoping to cross the floor should handle it, according to a Nanos research data from earlier this month. According to the numbers, a third of Canadians, 33%, believe MPs planning to cross the floor should resign their seat and trigger a by-election running on the mandate of the party they hope to join. Roughly the same number of respondents, 32%, believe MPs who want to change parties should be able to do so. And another third, 31%, say would-be defecting MPs should sit as independents until the next general election. Honestly, that's not a bad idea either. Okay, you don't want to be part of our party anymore. Well, you can't join the other team. It's like, okay, here's the way I'm looking at this, guys. I'm going to stop sharing that. So, okay, the Olympics are on right now, and obviously we're all watching hockey. We know that Canada and the US are in the semifinals. We know that there's a pretty good chance that it's going to be a Canada-US final. What happens to, like, if Connor McDavid just says, okay, I'm going to go play for the American team now? It's like, no, right? Like, obviously Connor McDavid's not going to do that, never would. But is that not just the same thing? I'm just going to go play for the other team now. No questions asked. I'm just going to take all my stuff and go over and play for the other team. It's like, no. So yeah, I don't mind the idea of them sitting as an independent until the next federal election, but I still think I'm more in favor of it triggering a by-election, and that way the constituents get to actually vote for what they want. That's my opinion. Yeah. I know at the end of yesterday's live stream, I said we were going to possibly look into Canadian Arctic sovereignty, and I am still planning on doing that in another upcoming live stream. So hopefully you can come back. Maybe tomorrow will be on that one, or maybe there'll be another top news story to check out tomorrow. Again, I want to thank everyone who has in the past ever. I need to bring up I'm trying to bring it up there. Anyone who has ever sent a super sticker or super chat using the cash icon in the YouTube chat window, that is always very appreciated. So anyone who is who in the past has ever supported the Passive Income and Political podcast by sending $2 or $4 or $5, it's never expected, but always appreciated. So thank you all so much for that. Like I said, truly appreciate it. I do truly appreciate it. It's I know it's a small gesture, but it does mean a lot to me. So thank you all so much for anyone who has ever sent, like I said, $2, $4, $5, $10. It's very appreciated. It does help me keep going, it helps motivate me to keep these live streams going and making the videos on this channel as well. So, and also thank you to everyone who has supported the channel by liking and subscribing, liking the videos, watching the videos. That's also very important. So yeah, please click that like button, hit that subscribe button, and I will be back again tomorrow. Hopefully, like I said, I'm trying to live stream every day between 4:30 and 5. Start beginning between 4:30 and 5 Eastern time, and just going for 30, 40, 50, 60 minutes, however long. If we can start getting more people into the chat, I will go longer just to keep the chat going. That is always, I keep saying it every day, that the more people we have in the chat, the better it is. It's better for the audience, and it makes it makes the live stream so much better from everyone's perspective. So yeah, please don't be afraid to jump into the chat on the daily live streams. And yeah, we'll be back tomorrow with another topic of relevance to Canadian politics. So if you enjoy that topic of Canadian politics, feel free to click that subscribe button, and I will see you again tomorrow.